live. Oh. Well, hello, and here we are again with a Natter that matters. And today I have the wonderful Marie-Louise O'Neill. Hello, darling.
Hello.
We've got battle of the Zoom banners here, except mine's a real touchable banner, look.
Yeah,
and yours is a virtual banner.
Virtual, yeah.
But you did design this one too, so like this is just sponsored by you, this whole vision.
Yeah, I like that. We just celebrate.
So thank you. Sponsored by you. Yes, yours is very lovely. I see some really dodgy ones though, don't you, on Zoom? I've seen some, yeah, really.
Yeah, and I mean, I know I should know about these sorts of things. You know, sometimes it's a bit of a trial and error. I've had some feedback from, like, I think this is like my fourth iteration of playing around with it and stuff. But yeah, there's been some real basic kind of obvious things where it's like right across the back and like loads of text that's like super tiny, or trying to put too much on it. It's just like just get your logo on it and keep it simple, love.
Keep it simple, yeah. I mean, that's actually, ironically, we didn't know when you designed my banner that was going to work perfectly for my head height sitting in the background here. So because I haven't got a green screen, because that's the other thing, is people don't have the green screen, and then they disappear, don't they? As soon as they move back, their head disappears and there's just left a body, and they're like, it's very weird. It's really weird.
Well, I mean, not only does it sort of very nicely keep me on brand having the virtual background, but it also hides the fact that behind this I've got I've now got some sheets of plastic temporary, those tablecloths, those disposable tablecloths. And beneath that is raw plaster. So
they're green tablecloths, are they? There's a little hack for you. I think I might get
one's green and one's blue, because I know that sort of on those reversibles, like pop-up green screens, they're like different colours, because I guess it depends on what you're wearing. It gives you a bit more options. So I thought, I'll buy one of each and see. But they're quite see-through, quite flimsy. The ones I bought, they were just like £3 or something from eBay each. So then I thought, I'll overlay them, and then they're actually quite a similar colour to my backdrop now. So it's quite nice that it's a bit more forgiving when I'm sort of waggling around or moving.
That's the trick then. Yours is definitely the best one I've seen, for the fact that as you move, and you can't see the outline of your hair, like there's some really weird stuff goes on. So no good. So obviously you're the best person to talk about this, because of course you create these. Why don't you tell everybody, there may be people that don't know who you are, what you do and how you do it and who you do it for, really.
Yeah, so I've got a business called Lovely Evolution, and I'm a branding, design and Canva specialist. So I've been banging on about Canva in particular the last sort of couple of years. I've certainly been building up to it, and now I'm kind of all about Canva. But I don't just train on how to use Canva and do bespoke templates with it and all of that. I use my branding and design expertise to explain why would you create a template in a certain way, why do you make certain tweaks, and I've been launching sort of various online services since the beginning of the year, really. So before where we are now with everyone going online, I'd already started looking at how to make it online so that I can not be constricted by premises or geography. So it's been working really well. And I'd have to do also a big shout out to you, Viv, because I'm part of your She Thrives, and it's been really great having the one-to-one sessions and sort of the group sessions to really sort of step by step sort of push me forward, and sort of you have that understanding of yourself or what's holding yourself back and all that, the mindset, as it shows in your banner.
This is what it says on the tin.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been on a personal growth journey myself because I do Arbonne on the side. I'm not terribly active doing it, but one thing that has been a real gift with being part of something like that is that they really encourage personal growth, and so it really opened up my mind to the concept of coaching, and I don't think I may not have been so sort of open to it. And certainly Viv and we've known each other for quite a few years now. I started coming to your coffee, cake and coaching in person, and then sort of been to some of your online things, and it's grown, and sort of when the timing was right, it was like, right, okay. And for me, the coaching has really helped, having that support.
I'll pay you later.
Yay. Well, I wouldn't say anything that's not true.
No, absolutely you wouldn't as well. No, I don't think people do either. And I think it's not only a testament to the fact you're thinking it and feeling it, but people can see it. They'll see your evolution. You know, I can see it from when I first met you and what you were doing to now, you know, your confidence and all the business online and how you're helping people. And, you know, whenever there's a tag of a branding designer or somebody that does graphic design, like I always go to tag you and someone's already been there. So that says quite a lot about how you're changing your visibility and, you know, how people perceive you. So very, very powerful. You know, branding is everything, as you quite rightly say. I know when I got you to tweak my branding and then create my mindset for business branding and then had the branding photography, when all that came together, it really transformed my business. It's a really, really powerful process to go through rather than having a business. And a lot of people don't understand the difference between a logo and a brand, do they? That's the biggest problem. They don't really get.
Yeah, and so for those that don't know, you've got your logo, which is sort of would have your name in a sort of a nice text, possibly have an icon, but your brand is so much more than that. It's how you show up in person. So what colours and clothing you're wearing, what kind of personality do you show up as? It's also about how you know, how you present yourself or your business online. So, you know, your social media, your website, printed materials, so anything that your logos maybe apply to as well. But it's your colours, it's your fonts, and they all come together and really build up that kind of recognition. And particularly now we've got such a crowded marketplace on social media. You know, people are on social media more than ever, and sort of scrolling through. And if you're not eye-catching or memorable or you know, having that consistency in your branding, people are going to not click on it. They're just going to keep scrolling by. So it's so important. And I think I've really been working on understanding. I knew it innately because it's what I do, but it's trying to explain it to people in a way that they can understand how powerful it is and how important it is.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, if you think about some of the main brands that we buy this day and age, they can just be like, I mean, look at Nike or Nike, whichever country you're in. You know, when we see that tick, we know immediately who they are. You know, such symbolism, and it doesn't just symbolize that emblem, is it? It's the whole brand. We get the whole ethos. It's the same with all of it, isn't it? Apple, they're all the same.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that's where people get a bit confused about the difference between a logo being the brand and the not. You know, you only understand and recognize that icon or you know, the colors and stuff because they've had consistent marketing campaigns. They're like everywhere, you know, they're on you know, advertising both in magazines, online, email marketing. You know, they're getting you in all sorts of different ways, and they're repeating that. And that's certainly sort of, you can implement that in your own business. Like I was guilty of it earlier this year, where I was like, oh, I put a few posts out, I've launched my new membership thing, and then crickets. And it's like, oh yeah, I've got to build up an email list, I've got to start using an email tool, and I happen to use MailChimp. Others are available. And you know, and it's like, oh, okay, you know, it's sort of getting out of your own way of thinking that you're being salesy or icky. And it's like, no, people have to see things and be reminded. And if you're offering something of value that will help people, you know, that will be what comes through.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say about colours and things. So I know about 2 years ago I had, oh no, it might have been, 18 months ago, I had somebody do my social media for a little while. You know, you kind of try all these things, don't you? I mean, I do all my own social media, and I did before, and I do now, because there was nothing wrong with how, I had 2 different people do it actually. There's nothing wrong with how they did it, except it didn't feel like my brand. And I remember one of the first posts, and she was learning actually, and she put my brand out with a black background, and I literally looked at it and went, what the fuck is that? That's not my brand. You know, I could just take it down immediately, because if someone doesn't understand your brand or doesn't know it, and you know, certainly when you're when transitioning and someone's helping you, they're kind of getting to know you. But I just remember thinking, God, that's never going to happen. There's never going to be a black background to anything I do. So much so that my laptop and my Chromebooks and my phones have all got the darkness setting, you know, the black thing, so that when I send out an email and I watch it again, there's a black background. I'm like, oh my God, it looks hideous. So yeah, which is an interesting one to think about, because a lot of people have got those backdrops now, haven't they, on their phones, which means the marketing we're sending out doesn't look like we think it does anyway.
Yeah, and it's understanding how all of that sort of builds in together, and I guess sort of coming back to sort of Canva, that's why it's a great tool to be able to, you know, you're in effect being your own brand guardian, because you know, for you were outsourcing some bits, but they didn't fully understand your brand. So
No.
having
It was my
brand
fault,
guide.
to be fair. If she's watching this, it wasn't her fault. And I told her I didn't give her specific enough instruction because I didn't have a brand Bible. I didn't have a kind of directory. I didn't, you know, give her all the structure. And in fact, I think we then created it. In fact, I remember us doing that then. You know, this is the font that goes in, and this is the size, and this is the heading size, and yeah.
Well, certainly, you know, if someone was to log into your Canva account, you know, I've been in there and done some work for the summit and stuff, but you can definitely see that things are sort of, there's a consistency there. Same for like if someone sort of looked in my Canva login for Lovely Evolution, that there is a certain repetition of the colours that are used, the fonts, and it doesn't have to be cookie cutter, but it certainly needs to have a sort of a running theme. And if you're following that, you can make sure that people will start to pick up and recognize it. And if they like your content, they're more likely to click on it and stop and read it than if they didn't.
No, most definitely. So you must see some interesting so you log into Canva accounts a lot now. I know when I see something, my main horribleness is when you see someone try and stretch an image. That's my pet hate. So there's a stretched image where they've obviously tried to just make it fit and they didn't understand how to scale the image. That's my pet hate. What is your pet peeve? So what do you see on Canva where you go, oh no, nasty?
I think sort of things like there's so many, I suppose, but it's not so much sort of specific to Canva. I guess it's sort of being a bit not understanding certain sort of design principles. So one thing is using too much caps. So a little bit of caps is good, but particularly
my whole headline in my book's in caps.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But like a whole big block of text, like reams and reams of text, or like everything on that post is in caps, and particularly sort of more kind of frilly, swirly fonts, having that all in caps. That gives me the heebie-jeebies. Another thing is sort of when someone's got their logo and it's only available like on a white background. Maybe that's how it was supplied to them by their designer or Fiverr or wherever they got it from, and then they just plonk it on. And so, for example, if you were to just plonk your She Enjoys logo, one with a white background, just on your pink block, it would look hideous.
Oh no.
Especially if there's no kind of a bit of a white sort of spacing around, a bit of a sort of I guess sort of white space literally, or negative space around. You want a bit of breathing space. And then the other one that I see is where people aren't sort of having a bit of a margin around the edges, so things aren't quite lining up, and you're like, well, just like, yes, you want to have things to fit the page, but like, does it have to go right up to the edge? It's like, have a bit of a margin.
Yes, they're not centered either. And also, I tell you what I see, and I know this is on a different remit to Canva, although it's the same, is when you go onto landing pages and when you go on your phone, like I've got the curved edges, and what happens is if they haven't got the guttering right on their landing pages, the text falls off the ends. It drives me crazy. You can't see it properly. It's another pet hate of mine.
I guess that's the thing. It's checking that whatever you're doing, particularly certainly for online stuff, is check how it looks on a mobile and check how it looks on different devices like a desktop and looking on like an iPad or that kind of thing, because it will size differently. And particularly like on Facebook pages and groups, they crop differently, so be careful with that. So
that's a nightmare, isn't it? That is a nightmare, because of course on one your head's in the middle, on another your head's at the side. It's like, how do you know, if you want anything that definitely is on there, you've got to have it to the left. It's like to the right, sorry, otherwise it's just going to cut off.
I mean, it depends on.
That does drive me crazy. That does. Have you got?
It depends on what device you're on, and what. So, like LinkedIn, for example, because of where your profile picture usually sits, your profile picture is normally kind of slightly over on the right-hand side. So you'd want to put your logo and anything important on the left-hand side, and then kind of keep the sort of, but it's just a case of doing it. and then check it and check how it looks on the different devices, and then update it and tweak it accordingly.
Well, and of course, there's some of us, mentioning their names, want to put loads of stuff on them as well. So we want to, like your banners, the one we can see now is lovely and simple, whereas actually some of us want to put lots of detail on stuff, which of course loses the impact, doesn't it? Have you got any tips as to how we can stop ourselves from doing that? How do you make it very simple and feel confident that you're getting the message across? And this is all branding, isn't it, I suppose?
Well, I think it comes back to sort of some of the principles, like if you're networking and you've got 45 seconds to do your pitch or however much you're allowed, if you start listing every single thing that you do, after about the third thing or service, people are glazing over anyway. So, for example, for me, I tend to focus in on branding and Canva, and sort of maybe mention about evolution and that kind of thing. But generally speaking, I focus in on the Canva bit because it's sort of a bit different to other designers that I'm out networking with. And it's something that seems to be a good kind of mental hook for people to remember. But if I was to go, and I do banners, I design banners and I design websites and business cards, and go on and on and on, I'm just listing things and it's not very interesting. So the same is true for kind of any social media post or your Facebook header or cover image. Try and have like one thing that you're promoting, or maximum 3 if you're maybe listing to show an example of the array of stuff of like how you help people. Certainly people who are in the health and well-being industry that are say sort of coaches, they've got a lot of things in their toolkit, they do NLP, mindfulness, they do Reiki and this and that, and you're like, oh, that's amazing. But ultimately your client or potential client doesn't care. They really don't care. Those are like tools. That's the how. So by all means list it, but try not to list it in a way that it's not overwhelming.
Do you know, it's funny because obviously I am NLP and hypnotherapy and therapist, counsellor, etc.
So you're who I'm moaning about.
Yeah, maybe. No, but it's interesting because I don't mention that often. In fact, I don't even hashtag them. And this morning I had a conversation with a woman who wants to start coaching with me. And she said, what toolkit do you use? And that is the first time anyone's ever asked me that. I tell you now, in my whole career, first time anyone's ever said, what sort of, tools are you going to use on me?
So that makes a really great post that you could do a post and have like a visual image of an actual toolkit and list the different things. Samantha Cameron did a really good social media training at one of her last networking meetings, and she was talking about, it really stuck with me because I thought, oh, this is good. I've yet to implement it myself, but I have told other people about it.
You know what they say, those that can't do teach.
Yeah, but what she suggested is that you write down literally everything that you do, like every product or service, list it all down, and then suddenly you've got a post. You could do a post on each. So I'm not saying put it all in one post necessarily, or unless you do it in a certain way. Be careful with how you do that. And I wouldn't say necessarily have everything that you do on your banner, but certainly, if you have a clear idea of all the different things of ways you can help people, suddenly you've got, like, if you talked about one thing per week, you and break it down, show examples and testimonials to that specific thing. It's a bite-sized way of being able to actually make sure that at some point you have mentioned that you do Reiki or this. And for me, I know that I've had it happened to me a lot where people don't realise I do website design. And it's because I don't really talk about it that much. But if I was a bit better at covering that in my social media, it would be something that people would associate with me. But it comes down to sort of trying to balance being able to cover the various things that you do, especially if you have a lot of different things that you can do, versus being memorable. So for example, the key hook for you, Viv, is that your mindset, you're provocative, but then there's so many different things that you do. Like certainly when we were trying to put together some materials for the summit, it was like, that's like so much, and to the point where it can be confusing. So
Yes.
that's that thing of being able to have a really clear bird's eye view of like all the different ways that you can help people.
Yes, it is a challenge, actually, most definitely. Trying to work out. I put a post on my Facebook this week, I don't know if you saw it, and I asked, do you believe in the spirit world? It was quite an interesting post, the comments.
Yes, I did see it. I didn't comment on it. I went, oh, and then just
it's
sort of
interesting because nobody posted to say no they didn't, which I was kind of wondering if any, I don't know, I think people believe in something somewhere, a lot of people, most people. But it's interesting because I never really talk about that, and yet because you've had a lot of coaching with me, spirit literally always with me. I'm a strong spiritualist. I've done it for 20 years. I've done platform mediumship. I've done a variety of things around that, and yet I never mention it in my marketing. So just that post alone made me think, oh, maybe I should be mentioning the fact that I'm a real kind, really connected kind of, I don't know how I'd even talk about that really. But the trouble is when you're working on business, people don't want to think there's spiritualism involved, but there absolutely is, because of course it's all about your business changing the world, or the well-being of you and your business and the thing around it. So of course they've got vested
interest. Also, like, you and your business are not separate entities, and that's the big thing that that I have recognized myself, that it's different when you're an employee. I think you have a very different mindset about the work that you do in your day-to-day. You can switch off in a completely different way. Obviously if you're having a big life-changing or stressful time, yes, it's going to impact your working day, but more often than not you can kind of turn up to work and you can switch off and you just get on with it. But when you're working for yourself, you've got yes, there's lots of benefits, but there's also a lot more responsibility on yourself. You're kind of having all these different hats, and and it can be overwhelming. And so I've noticed in myself that if my mental well-being is a bit shaky or stuff is going on, and I guess also for me, because I'm a creative, it's a bit, yes, I can get into stuff and then get into the mood. It's a bit of a fallacy to think, you have to be in the mood to create. If I could only create when I felt like it, I'd get nothing done.
Very part-time,
quite frankly. Yeah, be like, okay, so I'd be working 2 hours a week then.
That would involve gin, probably. No,
yeah, probably. But yeah, so it's that thing of if you're and I believe it's Mental Health Awareness Week, isn't it?
Yes, apparently, week? Yeah.
And it is so true that you can't disconnect your mindset and your mood and your feeling from your business and what you're doing. You need to be able to be looking at both, because sometimes you could be stuck in your business and it's because you've not dealt with personal issues, and I've experienced that time and time again. And
most of the women that come to me think they need a business coach, when confidence is an issue. It's actually nothing to do with the business. It's to do with how they feel about themselves from years gone by, or from an incident that happened in their past career. Yeah, absolutely. It's all about, hence why I call myself the mindset for business coach, because if the mind is set in the wrong direction, it's the same if the brand is not set right, they're never going to have the success with the business they need, are they?
Well, you're only going to get so far. That's the thing, you can have a business with rubbish branding and and be sort of very scattered, but you're only going to get so far, and you're never going to be able to reach the levels that you can, that you might be.
Some companies are known for having shit branding, aren't they? Like, I'm not going to mention any retail stores which are still open right now that have an orange and blue branding, and I think I'm not going to mention any more than that, as I don't want to be done for any sort of libel. But their branding, I think, is hideous, but it's so hideous it stands out. I think you know the people I'm talking about. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Are they a certain place where you might buy food and stuff?
All sorts of weird stuff. Like it's the sort of place you go into needing some shampoo and come out with 30 quid worth of stuff.
Okay.
A competitor to another one that's a bit like that, which is a bit, but their branding's a bit more subtle. So yeah, but I always look at their branding and think, who designed that? They did that on like clip art, I reckon. I really do genuinely think that. And I look at it and think, but it's so synonymous now. If they were to change it, then we would think that. And of course they are cheap food, cheap stuff. It's like it's a cheap logo. because of the stuff you buy in there. They're portraying the fact that they are, you know, a value brand, as they call themselves. So yeah, I think sometimes there's people that try to make themselves look like a posh brand and create a value product, or vice versa. So sometimes their brand is off completely. It's not right.
Yeah, it's making sure that I guess it comes back to something that I've been really championing and banging on about when it comes to branding, is knowing who your target market is,
Yeah.
so that you can make sure that you know what you're communicating to them is correct, because if you've identified that you want to work with someone who is has high-end values and really expensive taste and this and that, if you've got something that looks unprofessional, that your neighbour's daughter made it in Word, it's just not going to ever appeal to them. But I think you can have stuff that is budget friendly and still looks good. I mean, if you think about IKEA, for example, I mean, okay, their logo itself isn't something that sets me alight, but in terms of their brand values, whether you love IKEA or not, they know who their market is.
IKEA are a good example, aren't they? Because as you say, they're a good example of how the logo isn't the brand. Actually, the brand is the brand. The logo just sits with it, because that, you know, when you see that, you know immediately everything you see, don't you? The way their typefaces and fonts are used, and their colorings, and just the layouts and the simplicity of them.
Well, and also they're true to their sort of Scandi roots as well. You know, in terms of the Scandinavian design is all known for very minimalist looks. The fonts, you know, you wouldn't have Comic Sans used there. There aren't bright colours in the communications. I mean, yes, the logo is quite bright in that it's a very yellow and blue, but they're a Swedish brand, and yellow and blue is the Swedish flag colours, so it's kind of on brand in that sense.
Yeah. No, it's good. So I know that there are going to be a lot of people watching this, hopefully, who are thinking, oh, how do I learn how to make my brand look better? And maybe I'm guilty of some of those faux pas that they've just been talking about, or maybe I haven't even given it much thought and I just whacked a logo together on something and have been using that ever since and didn't realise the impact it could potentially have on the business. How can they work with you? How can they change it? You know, what's available? And you can drop some links in under this anyway, so that they can get
I'll come back in and drop some links.
Yeah, cool.
So I the main thing to do is to join my Facebook group. It's called Lovely Canva Crew. It's a free Facebook group. It's a really great forum to be able to upload any designs you're working on, get feedback from myself and other members of the group. There's a couple of sort of social media and designery people in there, as well as sort of possibly someone who might be your target market in there. It's a very nice supportive community that's growing, or if you've got a question on Canva or about your brand,
and they're people improving their business, so maybe I should hang out in there as well then. Note to self, go and hang out in there when the nice business owners are trying to improve their business. Okay.
And you can also work one-to-one with me. So I've got a booking link. So if you want to have a one-to-one Canva stroke branding session, so I've got a couple of options there. If you want to sort of see, how to sort of fix maybe stuff that you've got already that you've already been working on, as well as create some bespoke templates. I have a range of branding services as well. So some of the Thrive Tribe have been working with me, as well as some of the She Thrives gang as well. So it's really good.
And you've got an online kind of training program, haven't you?
Yeah, so I've got a membership called Lovely Canva Club. It's £30 a month, and there are sort of weekly Zoom sessions, and they're like 30 minutes. So it's like a bite-sized way of being able to learn sort of about a couple of features of Canva. And I'm always bringing, like I said at the beginning, talking about how you would use branding and design for the best sort of effect using Canva as a tool. Canva's great, but it is just a tool. It's about how you use it. So I'm always sort of saying, okay, well, what about doing this? Make sure, reminding people of, things like legibility and all the stuff that we've touched on today. So it's means that people can evolve their Canva designs as well as their branding.
And so I know, just as we finish off, my darling, I had a personal win with you when I merged one of my brands with another one. And I kind of, because of course, when they're the same, because they come from the same color and font family, so it's a bit easier. And I sent it to you and you said, yes. And I was like, oh my God, it's a personal win on design here when my designer says yes to something I've kind of put together. So, so that we know if you want training on how to actually be able to do this and understand it for yourself, so that, you know, if you do have to knock something up a bit quickly and you're not, you know, you can't get hold of Marie-Louise or, you know, anybody else to do it, then at least it's not going to ruin your brand. Then definitely.
Well, this is the thing. I get that.
That's what I suggest.
I get that people don't always have like masses of budget. I mean, I don't class myself as super expensive. I think I'm value for money. But, you know, people, you know, there are some people who are starting out or, you know, have a different mindset over money for their business.
Well, 30 quid though, darling, 30 quid is like 10 Costa coffees, isn't it? Let's be honest about what that really is. And, you know, if we weren't in lockdown, and most of us are drinking coffee to that at least one every 3 days, I would say, because we're out and about and doing meetings and things. So I think, yeah, it's all relative to what you get. And the support from you, I suppose, just having you on side is always is invaluable, actually. Absolutely invaluable. Cool, lovely. Well, I'm going to get this live for you, for us actually, and if anybody wants to join, the links and things will be underneath. And it's been beautiful to watch your evolution, and long may it last, of course.
Thank you.
Your own evolution, of course.
Yeah, it's been really great working with you, not only sort of being a client of yours, but also you being a client of mine, and that exchange of knowledge. It's been, you know, seeing you evolve as well, because, you know, you've brought out different programs and have been fine-tuning and tinkering, and that's the thing, you don't have to have it all figured out when you launch something, or
it's impossible.
You just can't.
Options online. Like, you know, especially if you're a bit entrepreneurial and creative, which of course I am. So I'll go, oh, I could do that and I could change that, and I'm about to do it all again. Actually, I'm having a little bit of a shake up and a bit of a move around. Well, so I get bored easily, and if I get bored with programs, then people will get bored. I don't mean the content of them, because, you know, business mindset content and trainings of sales, marketing strategy, they are what they are, but the delivery of it and how you get interactive with it and how you learn, kind of, they do change. So yeah, which is why I love what you're doing with your lovely Canva club, so that people can come and get that in a different way than sit and want to scream at their laptop going, I don't know why it works. The best one is, and I do it on my phone on Canva, is, why can't I edit that text? It's because it's layered underneath something else. Oh, bloody hell, I've got to change the layering, and oh no, I end up just deleting it in the end and just putting a new one in. It's like, oh God, get myself into a right old state using it on my phone. But of course it is the easiest way, isn't it, to the quickest way is you just deliver it online. So yes, thank you very much for coming and sharing some of your frustrations and your tips, and also the support that you're giving to the small business community, because they absolutely need it right now. So thank you for your commitment to that too, my darling. Thank you. I will see you next week on networking, probably, or something, on Thrive or whatever else we're doing.
Yeah, I think I'll be coming, well, it'll be the next Thrive, because Monday is my son's birthday, so I won't be coming along.
Oh, happy birthday
to the meeting. So yeah.
What are you going to do with him?
I'm hosting a online Zoom party for his classmates and some friends and family, and I've got a lady called Ella, who from Ella Bella's Parties. She's going to do a 30-minute little online party. We did a tested one out at the beginning of lockdown, because I thought that would be a really great way for her to move her business online during you know, what was going on. So I'm bringing her back and paying for her services.
Very good, nice. Oh, how lovely. We're all in together, we really are. And you know what, you hear it, don't you, on the news, but the small business community, we really are in it together. Like, we really are. It really feels like that solidarity. It's lovely. So that'd be lovely. We'll have an amazing time, won't you, on Monday?
Thank you.
I look forward to hearing all about it, and thank you for coming. Drop the links. And so if you're watching this and you want to get in touch with Marie-Louise, she is my choice of branding designer. She's never let me down. In fact, you know what, can I just tell you, she's not listening anymore. But I tell you, I just say, oh, I think I want this, and I don't give her any direction at all, and she just comes back with magic. My book cover, like, she just delivered that to me, and I just went, oh, that's perfect. You know, that's when somebody really starts to understand who you are and who your brand is. So you definitely need that. Don't waste time and money going to people that are cheap and cheerful and are going to do a crap job.
You get what you pay for, isn't it?
You do get what you're paid. Oh, you really do. You really do. And you come very highly recommended, not just by me, but lots of my clients and lots of other people I see, and I can tell a brand that's been done by you. So there's definitely a calling card. So well done, and thank you for being here, and I'll see you again soon. You'll come back and talk to us about other stuff, no doubt.
Yes, thank you. I shall try and be a bit more active in the group and sort of offer a few top tips and stuff.
There's 1,200 women in there, so please do. Yeah, that'd be great.